Paranormal romance is a subgenre of both romance and speculative fiction that blends real with fantasy, that tends to blend contemporary American life with the supernatural, often vampires, werewolves, ghosts, demons, and shapeshifters as characters, while focusing on romance. An example of a novel that uses paranormal romance is the House of Night series by P.C. Cast and Kristen Cast. Marked is the first installment of the House of Night series and was published in 2007. It's considered to be a paranormal romance as it's a fantasy novel in which vampires have always existed alongside humans. The novel focuses on Zoe Redbird, a 16-year-old average teenager who is just being marked as a fledgling vampire. Marked blends contemporary American life, as the novel is set in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with the supernatural, and focuses on romance, which is a big part of the plot throughout the entire series. Marked is set in a world similar to our own, except in this world, vampires have always existed. The novel, and most of the series, is set in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It seems this world is set somewhere in the early 2000s, as it's mentioned throughout the books a few times that it is the 21st century. And although celebrities still exist, including people such as Hugh Jackman, many of these celebrities in this novel are vampires, as vampires are apparently super attractive and super creative. Zoe Redbird, a 16-year-old from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, is the main heroine and protagonist of Marked and of the series. She has been gifted with an affinity for all of the elements, being air, water, fire, earth, and spirit, and has a filled-in crescent mark and tattoos all over her body, something that has never been seen before in vampire fledglings. Romance has been blended into Marked and into the other books in the series, making it a paranormal romance. From the beginning of Marked, Zoe Redbird already has an on-again, off-again boyfriend who is known as Heathlock. However, when she arrives at the House of Night, she develops a crush on vampire fledgling Eric Knight. Yet she discovers her bloodlust in Marked and imprints with Heathlock, a bond which ties the two of them together through bloodlust. I remember how hypnotically beautiful Heath's blood had been, and the rush of desire I'd felt for it. This quote was from early on in the novel, when Zoe has just been marked by a vampire tracker, and although she and Heath are meant to be broken up in this chapter, she is hypnotized by the smell of his blood and the desire to taste it. This time I leaned into him and touched my tongue to his lip, taking the drop of blood into my mouth, where it exploded, heat, sensation, and a rush of pleasure I'd never known. Zoe first imprints with Heath when he tries to break her out of the House of Night, and although it is only a weak imprint in this book, it becomes stronger and betrayed, and Heath eventually becomes a human consort. In these books, imprinting means that the two people involved can feel each other's emotions, and can sometimes even read the other's mind. The romance genre is one of the most popular genres of all fiction, and includes paranormal romance, which has reached its highest popularity. So how do you do well in the paranormal romance genre? The first trick is to research. It's highly important to research what is being written in this genre and what is actually selling. There are many popular paranormal romance books out there, but some popular paranormal romance books in the vampire genre include Twilight by Stephanie Meyer and Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. The second trick is that originality is key in this genre. While it's not completely possible to be original, as there are many novels out there that are paranormal romance and include vampires and werewolves, it's a good idea to come up with new original twists that will make the reader want to read your novel. While vampires were included in P.C. Cast's House of Night series, she added a new original twist to these vampires to make them her own. Vampires exist in a world similar to our own, and they are not your cliché vampires. As humans, teenagers are marked by vampire trackers and have to move to the House of Night boarding schools, where they either spend 4 years undergoing the change from fledglings to adult vampires, or they die. Vampires and fledglings are also marked with tattoos, identifying that they are vampires. Fledglings have the outline of blue crescent moon on their foreheads, while vampires have a filled-in blue crescent moon, and their tattoos are expanded to frame their face. However, red fledglings and vampires also exist, and they have a red tattoo rather than a blue tattoo. Blue fledglings and vampires also don't burn up under the sunlight. They rather feel discomfort from it, whereas the red fledglings do burn up under direct sunlight. By adding these elements to the vampires, while still including the concept of a vampire drinking blood from a human, P.C. Cast has added a new twist to the vampire genre, making the vampires her own. The third trick is to include a solid mythology. or in other words, the character's backstory. It is important for the readers to know the basics: where the character was born, do they have a supernatural power, and are they seen by humans? What sort of a society do they live in, and what has made them into who they are? It is an integral part of the writing process, as with any story, that should not be overlooked. Throughout the House and Night novel, Zoe Redbird's backstory has been included. Readers know a lot about Zoe Redbird through the inclusion of her backstory. They know she is from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and it's apparent that she has lived there for her whole life. She has an affinity for all of the elements as discovered in Marked. She is seen by humans, and vampires exist alongside humans. And she is marked by a vampire tracker as a fledgling and transferred to the House at Night in Marked. I just wanted to attempt to be normal, despite the burden of my conservative parents, my troll-like younger brother, and my oh-so-perfect older sister. I wanted to pass geometry. I wanted to keep my grades up so that I could get accepted into the veterinarian college at OSU and get out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. But most of all, I wanted to fit in, at least at school. Home had become hopeless, so all I was left with were my friends and my life away from my family. As seen by this quote, the reader learns some information about Zoe Redbird, including that her family life is not great, and that she wants to go to veterinary college at OSU. The reader also learns about other characters' backstories throughout Marked and the other novels, as they have been weaved into the novel. My own creative piece, Dark Night, is a piece that is still in the drafting and planning stages, but the idea is that witches exist alongside humans. The story is set in Brisbane in 2015, a futuristic Brisbane, where the world is similar to our own, but has changed a lot and uses a lot of new and more advanced technology. The story focuses on Malia Rose Hassel, a 15-year-old Australian teenager in 10th grade. She is adopted and doesn't know anything about her birth family, or the fact that they are witches. Malia discovers that she's a witch early on in the book, with telekinesis and fire starting being her powers. She later discovers that she has two siblings who are both witches as well. Paranormal Romance has been incorporated into this novel, as Malia has a thing with fellow high school student Wyatt Nolan. The excerpt of Dark Night shows when Malia first discovers that she has powers while she is in class at school, and accidentally sets the world globe on fire. She also discovers her telekinesis when she uses her mind to move a fire blanket and smothers the flames. The idea behind this is that Malia lives a normal life, but she also discovers that she is a witch and has to learn how to keep her powers a secret while still dealing with the pressures of being a teenager. This story will also incorporate this idea of romance, in particular a romance between Wyatt and Malia, and as it has a fantasy element, will be a paranormal romance as it combines speculative fiction and romance in this story. Thank you.